and I am the membership director at the U.S. Federation for Worker Cooperatives. In a bit, momentarily, Vanessa at the Democracy at Work Institute will give an overview of what the Corporate Transparency Act is, what the reporting requirements are, followed by a Q&A with two lawyers in the ecosystem, Cheryl and Lauren. Before we get into the meat of it, I just wanted to take a few moments to orient us to why we're here today. Why is the Federation and Dowie putting on this webinar? So as the National Trade Association for Worker Cooperatives, in partnership with our sister organization, Dowie, or Democracy at Work Institute, we're here to make sure that our member co-ops and the cooperative field at large is aware of policies and legislation that impact co-op businesses. It is part of our role to amplify news that directly impacts co-op businesses. We're also here to make sure that the process of dealing with reporting to a government agency is made as painless as we possibly can for worker co-ops. We search for expertise. We are well positioned to collect legal and administrative resources and connect co-ops to them. And that is exactly what we are in the process of doing. This webinar is an example of that. And I do just want to note that though the Q&A that we get into later today will address some of the legal and reporting aspects of the Corporate Transparency Act. We're also working on collecting resources to help folks who may have limited tech accessibility to have support in navigating the online portal for reporting. That will likely look like some sort of a video or a walkthrough or some support. So keep an eye out for that and follow-up resources for how to access and navigate the portal itself. And so welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. And we really intend for this to be an informative session that will provide some grounding and clarity on the next steps for your business. And with that, I will pass it to, Antu. I misspoke. So Antu.
Hi, everybody. Great to see y'all today, and thank you for joining us. I know that's taking out your time, but this is a very important law for all business owners to be aware of. So we're going to go a little bit into what the Corporate Transparency Act is, the basics, and then we'll go into the specifics with regards to how it applies to worker cooperative businesses and the kind of reporting that you will need to do. That starts for many of you that are already existing in 2025, but for new businesses that are being incorporated this year, it will start this year. So let's start with just the basics of the Corporate Transparency Act. What is it? It is a law that was passed in 2021, but is coming into effect now in January 1st, 2024 in terms of enforcement. It was created as a response to concerns around the US being a haven for shell companies that are companies created to basically facilitate money laundering, terrorist financing, tax fraud, other illegal things and corrupt practices. And it's been proposed for the last few decades before it got passed. So it's basically, it requires small businesses to file what's called a beneficial ownership information, or a BOI report. And it's enforced under the US Department of Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN for short. Next slide, please. So who does it apply to? Basically, it applies to every business, corporation, LLC or other entity that is created by filing with the Secretary of State in each state that the business is based in. That means it impacts right now about 32.5 million small businesses. There are some exceptions, however, although these exceptions are unlikely to apply to you as a small business, but I'll just run through them, and this is just a small amount. Roughly, the exceptions include publicly traded companies. That means companies that are traded on stock exchanges like NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, or financial entities that are already highly regulated and file reports with the Securities and Exchange Commission. These are primarily financial entities. Or large operating companies, and that's defined as more than 20 full-time employees in the United States that have a U.S. commercial physical presence, and also more than $5 million in annual gross receipts. These are the companies that are the exceptions that don't have to report to FinCEN, mainly because they already report using other mechanisms. But other than that, small businesses, generally speaking, have to report. Next slide, please. So why is this important for worker cooperative businesses? First, worker cooperative businesses require reporting on business owners and individuals who exercise significant control over a business or a beneficial owner. Cooperative businesses are a little bit more complex than a traditional, let's say, single member LLC business because they have a broad-based ownership model. Oftentimes, it's not clear exactly who within the business ownership needs to report. And for worker cooperative businesses that are horizontally managed or have like a member managed LLC model, it can be more difficult to understand. And this is why it's important right now as the law is being implemented. I just want to be clear that these regulations are still coming out in terms of the enforcement of the law. So it's important for worker cooperative business owners to be in touch with your lawyers, with your accountants, and just be keeping abreast of any changes that you might be seeing or any reporting requirements and guidance with regards to how you should be reporting. Next slide, please. So when we're talking about a beneficial owner, this is what the Corporate Transparency Act is. It's asking for this particular kind of company information. So that includes the full legal name. I'm sorry, is there a slide that was supposed to be before this? Okay, we'll just get into what the beneficial owner is, and then we'll get into the reporting requirements. So the law requires, there we go, sorry. We can go back up. We got a little bit mixed up. But so what we need to, so the beneficial owner, just quickly, the beneficial owner is an individual who directly or indirectly exercises a substantial control over a reporting company, or owns or controls at least 25% of the ownership interest of a reporting company. And this beneficial owner has to basically include their information to FinCEN through what is called the BOI, or the Beneficial Ownership Information Report. Next slide, please. So what is the company information in that context to be reported? That includes the full legal name, any trade or doing business as names for the business, the complete current street address of the principal place of business, the jurisdiction of formation, and the taxpayer identification number or identification document. This can also, in lieu of this information, you can use a FinCEN number. So, which can be set up through the Treasury Department. Next slide, please. So FinCEN ID provides a level of protection that will allow you to report that instead of the required information about an individual beneficial owner on the reporting company's beneficial ownership information report that is submitted to FinCEN. So you'd use that in lieu of the other identifying information that would go to FinCEN. And in order to get a FinCEN ID, there is a link to the slides that we'll be sharing. But when applying for a FinCEN ID, they will ask for the name, the date of birth, and either a state-issued driver's license, a state, local, or tribe-issued ID, a US or a foreign passport. And then once you get that ID number, then you can use that as part of your filing. Next slide, please. So who has to register? So as I said a little earlier, this does impact 32.5 million small businesses across the United States, and with an expectation in the coming years to impact about 5 million small businesses per year. And we really do encourage all businesses, worker cooperative businesses of all kinds, to begin talking with your legal and your accounting partners. A couple of really key things to know right now. If you are already an incorporated business and you were incorporated before the year 2024, before January 1st, 2024, you have until January 1st, 2025 to report. So you still have a lot of lead time as an existing business. If you are a new business owner, if your business was incorporated on or after January 1st of 2024 of this year, you will have 90 calendar days to report starting from your date of incorporation. So that means that if you incorporated on January 1st, 2024, you will have 90 calendar days. So that is around April 1st. Starting from your date of incorporation in order to report to FinCEN. Next slide, please. So I think that at this, I will be passing this back to Tamina. Oh no, it's still me. Sorry about that. So what to do? Don't panic. I think that was like the first thing is really we have been keeping track as the national clearinghouses on worker ownership and resources around this law and as it pertains to worker cooperative businesses. So is this something that lawyers, accountants are working on, and it's best that you are in touch with your legal service providers and your accountants and other service providers that can support on this. If you would like, we would recommend that you create an account and request a FinCEN identifier if you so desire. To start discussing with your cooperative business and start collecting information that relates to the beneficial ownership information report, to connect with and line up legal resources that are available in your area and then can provide support with reporting, and to also stay in touch by following and joining us at the usworker.coop/BOI for the most up-to-date resources. If you are an existing business, please do register by January 1st, 2025. And please be connected to legal services providers if you have any questions, or 90 days after your incorporation if you are a new business that is just incorporated January 1st of 2024 or afterwards. If you have not incorporated your business yet, and it's still something that you are working with legal service providers on, we would recommend that you wait later in the year for incorporation so as to have a bit more clarity on how the regulatory apparatus will be working as things become clearer as the year comes by. Next slide, please. And with that, here's our contact information with regards to resources and who to be in touch with. And I will be passing this on to our partners at Take Root Justice, who will be leading with regards to the FAQ. Thank you folks in the chat for your questions. They will be responding to as many questions that they can with regards to the new law.
Hi, this is Mo from the U.S. Federation of Worker Co-ops. I will help to facilitate some of the questions from everyone. Thanks for adding them into the chat. So I'd love to invite, let me see, Cheryl and Lauren from Take Root Justice, our partners. And I'll just start digging into the questions. I think we covered this, but it's definitely worth reiterating. What constitutes substantial control? Can we just go over this again? Cheryl, can you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Lauren, you're muted.
Nope, I see it. One sec. I can fix this. Cheryl. All right. Cheryl, you should be able to speak now. And Lauren.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really excited to be here. I am Lauren from Take Root Justice. So let's see. The first question was substantial control. I think that's a really good question because I know it's really confusing in the worker cooperative context, kind of what that means. So just kind of reminder that it's like really bright. This law wasn't created with worker cooperatives in mind. It really applies to all types of companies, and the kind of regulations make a lot more sense when you're thinking about a really kind of hierarchical corporate structure. So when you're identifying your beneficial owners, the kind of first thing is to look at whether anyone in your co-op owns 25% or more of the business. So if your co-op generally has 4 or fewer members, all of those members are going to be beneficial owners. The question of substantial control comes into play when you have more than 4 members. So maybe not everybody owns up to 25% of the co-op. Now you need to figure out, okay, who has substantial control? The federal regulations do provide some guidance about what substantial control means, but again, it really applies to a more traditional corporate context. The way that they define it, let me actually just pull up their list.
Actually, while you're doing that, Lauren, I'm actually gonna stop the recordings in English and Spanish.
Oh, awesome.
And, let me explain it before anyone stops the recordings. Thank you so much to Take Root Justice for doing the Q&A. And one thing that we're really aware of is that our understanding of the regulations around this, it's kind of a moving target, right? So we're answering these questions point in time. And what we don't want is for people to view this later and then have the wrong information. So we're actually going to stop the recordings right now. And the most updated information is going to be at usworker.coop/BOI. And so I just wanted to make that clear for anyone who's watching the recording so that you know exactly where to go to for the most updated information that we have. So for those folks who are, thank you so much for our recorders, but if you can actually stop those now, that would be great. Thanks so much.